Here it is right now, guys, at last. Now we have a large Ford crossover SUV. One, two, one, two. Okay, that's enough gym session for today. This has to be one of the first times I've ever seen a door handle with this much detail to it. Like, wow. This is so good, guys. My knee room is unlimited, guys. I mean, it's like literally 1 kilometer away from the driver's seat. Finally, we get a taste of North America. Sitting inside the rear of this car felt like I was in a filming set. In today's generation, crossover SUVs have become of super high demand, and this Ford Explorer is the answer of Ford to this rise in demand in the European market. And here it is right now, guys, at last. Now we have a large Ford crossover SUV. Now this is one of the most exciting moments for me, guys, because for a very long time, I'm going to tell you all something very interesting about Ford right now. For a very long time, there was a very big rift between Ford Europe and Ford North America. Okay, I'm not talking about the Atlantic Ocean that splits Europe and North America. No. I'm talking about this business rift between the North American Ford and the European Ford. What kind of marked the difference in mentality between the two entities? Ford North America had its own mentality and Ford Europe had its own mentality. They each had different politics that never met each other, that they were almost independent of each other. It's ironic I say this because Ford North America owns Ford Europe, but the way Ford Europe was behaving was as if they are a separate brand to North America. There was a big rift between the two. Now, it had a good effect, but it had a bad effect. The good effect it had was that it forced Ford Europe to be more creative. Ford Europe had to come up with cars that were very road friendly, very EU friendly, and also very desirable. And they succeeded in that sense. They made cars that were super desirable, super fun to drive, and also a fun to live with. However, for those who were looking for the American identity that would have come from the Ford Mustang or from the famous Ford pickup trucks like the Ford F-150, forget it. If you're buying a Ford from Ford Europe back in the 2000s or early 2010s, forget it. You're not going to find identity because identity wasn't in their cars back then, at least in Ford Europe. In Ford North America, they were Hollywood stars. They were everywhere. But here in Europe, they barely made it in the film industry. I'm going to tell you all a brief story about the Ford Explorer. Oh yes. Alright, so here's how it all goes. The Ford Explorer. This over here is the 6th generation Ford Explorer. It was released in 2020. However, the very first Ford Explorer was very sharp-edged. The second Ford Explorer was also sharp-edged. The 3rd generation Ford Explorer had some round edges to it to make it look more aerodynamic and more modernized. The 4th generation was no different. It was just more chrome on the exterior, I'd say. Like, that's how I see the Ford Explorers. The first Ford generation had this super American style to it. You can tell what car is from the North American market and what car is not from the North American market by the size, by the appearance, and by the level of chrome they really like to put as decoration. I tell you, Americans, they really have a thing for chrome. That's very good. I think chrome can be very good, and so is the aesthetics of the car. It's always good to keep your car good looking. Now, let's get back to topic. However, the 5th generation was where everything about the Explorer changed. The first 4 generation Ford Explorers were very sharp-edged. They looked visually like 4x4s that were built for families. They were built for suburbans, you can say. But something changed about the 5th generation Ford Explorer, and especially it's lived on the 6th generation Ford Explorer, which is right next to me. And the aspect that I have to remark that changed about the Ford Explorer is the fact that the 5th generation Ford Explorer and the 6th generation Ford Explorer have adopted a rather Range Rover design. So this Ford Explorer costs 70,000 euros. Is this good value for money or not? We're gonna find out in a moment, everyone. Let's get on with this review right now. Before we get on to talking about the engine of this Ford Explorer, I'm going to show you all something very interesting, which I have noticed just now. Allow me to demonstrate. So usually when we open the engine bonnet, it's from the interior, likewise. Nothing to pull from in here. You can just pull the engine bonnet straight away up without needing to do any further detachment from the front. Here it goes. It's like, I'm very surprised. This is the first time I've ever seen a car where you don't have any clip to pull before you open this bonnet. Now, whether it's questionable or not can be very debatable. By the way, the engine bonnet is super heavy, so if you miss out on going to the gym, no worries. This will be your perfect gym session. We can do it right now together. Let's do this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, that's enough gym session for today. Let's get on with talking about the engine. Here is your plug-in hybrid petrol engine, guys. A 3-liter V6 plug-in hybrid petrol. I'm going to tell you all something which you all need to know. Americans are the best when it comes to cruiser. So cars that can do very long journeys, and they do it in comfort, by the way. It's very comfortable and very cozy to sit in, and also especially for long journeys, as I said just now. Now, whether it's questionable or not can be very debatable because, yes, on one hand you are given a hybrid, which is very good, but then on the other hand you're given a 3-liter engine, which is a V6. Whether it's questionable or not, whether this combination is questionable or not, it can be debatable, very debatable. But what I can say is that this is one of Ford's initiatives to being more eco-friendly, and I think it has worked so far because across the Atlantic Ocean in North America, these things sell like hotcakes. Here is the front of the Ford Explorer, everyone, and I have to say it looks very nice. I really like the styling. I like how you get twin headlights over here. It's very interesting. It kind of reminds me of the first generation Ford Explorer, just a little bit. There's something about this area that reminds me of the first generation Ford Explorer because this has to be one of the rare occasions when I see the light directly connected to the grille, which is very rare these days because most car brands have the body paint in between. Hey, guys, believe it or not, you do get actual air vents right there. Speaking of the Ford badge, you all did not notice there was a parking camera right underneath it. That's very good. It's at a non-conspicuous spot. This is what I like. Non-conspicuous parking cameras. So over here is the plug-in for your hybrid. Whereas your fuel cap, where your petrol will go, is right there. These are the wheels of the Ford Explorer, guys, and they look very interesting because they kind of strongly remind me of something I've seen on the Ford F-150 pickup trucks. They really do look like something I've seen on the Ford Raptor as well, the Raptor pickup truck, because it did have a similar style of wheel like this, except it has 6 bolts, and then you'd have a similar design, so the black alloy inside, and on top you'd have the silver alloy. Very interesting. And so it's very cool how Ford has kind of employed this on the Ford Explorer. Oh wow. Okay guys, check this out. You get actual conspicuous exhausts. So whilst exploring the exterior of this Ford Explorer, oh yeah, of course, I mean, it's an Explorer. I have to be the Explorer exploring the Ford Explorer. Oh my goodness. Now, that was amazing. Okay, but seriously, guys, I was impressed, okay? Seeing this Ford Explorer was already a big surprise to me, and I loved it. I loved this surprise, but I did also notice some questionable aspects. There's an unknown theme about this Ford Explorer. It's not very clear what is the objective of this Ford Explorer, because you see the ST line over here implies that this Ford Explorer is supposed to be sporty, but then the presence of hard plastic over here and onto the rear bumper and the massive amount of hard plastic over there is an implication of something otherwise. It kind of has this strong prominent cross-country theme to it, so there's a bit of conflicting things going on, especially like ST line. Then you get the hard plastic, which implies cross-country. Then you get a 3-liter V6 engine, which pairs well with the ST theme. But then hybrid. So hybrid is supposed to imply fuel economy or something. See, that's what I'm trying to understand, because so it's like there's three things this Ford Explorer is aspiring to be at the same time. So before going in the interior of this Ford Explorer, I would like to talk about something amazing I've seen just now. The driver's seat and the passenger seat, they both get electric seats, and they also get electric lumbar support. Over here is the interior of the Ford Explorer, everyone, and I have to confess, it looks very interesting because it looks like nothing I've seen in Ford Europe, especially like the cars over here in Ford Europe. So this is like it has this very strong North American vibe about it, which is very good, very good. I like it. Since this is the Ford Explorer ST line, you get this nice seat with the red stitching to it to imply some sportiness. Very good. On a rainy day, you do not need to worry about mud splashes over here. This long part of the door covers this edge of the interior. So it's very practical, and also on a muddy day, you don't need to worry, guys. So over here is the interior of the Ford Explorer, everyone. So over here you have the climate controls, although you do get a button for the infotainment system, and right here where it's written menu. Okay, that's interesting. So there are two buttons for the media controls, and rest is all climate control. Very good. Oh, and you do get heated and ventilated front seats, and you do get heated steering wheel. How amazing is that? And then you do get heated windows. By the way, speaking of heated windows, this infotainment system has to be the most interesting I've ever seen, because most brands tend to have a horizontal infotainment system, a horizontal screen. But in the case of this Ford Explorer, this has to be the first time I've ever seen a screen vertical. So it's very interesting how Ford went about it. It's quite nice. Overall, the design is very interesting. In fact, this part of the interior design really does remind me of the Ford F-Series pickup trucks. It reminds me of the Ford F-150, or I think the Ford F-250, or perhaps both. It kind of reminds me of both, like the design over there on the edge. And then it's very interesting how they've gone about it. I like how here you have this silver trim. It's not aluminum, it's just this silver trim. That's it. And then you get this touch of piano black right here. And then over here you get some extra storage. Check this out, guys. This is a deep extra storage, by the way. And then you get USB points, you get a 12-volt socket, and you get this extra bit of the storage, which is quite deep. Here, I'm assuming this is your wireless recharge. It's very interesting. It's like all the way right here next to the button to open the central console. Speaking of central console storage, this has to be one of the largest central console storage I've ever seen. But this is, I think, very good, because for a crossover SUV of this segment and this size, this should be standard, and Ford has kind of realized it, guys. Over here is two cup holders of fixed sizes, everyone, and this is well, this can be used to hold your telephone or your keys. So over here are the window controls. I like how they have a touch of chrome on top, and then you have the mirror controls, and I like how you get this wonderful speaker right here. I just like the cold metal on it. Here's your seating memory, and you do get center door lock buttons. It's very nice, and this door handle is very pleasant. Now, when it comes to crossover SUVs, I really like it when the door is at a nice distance from my leg. Like, you know, when it's closer to me, you know, like when I feel like the door is closer to me, so it's for my arm to lay onto. But in the case of this Ford Explorer, I'm under the impression the door is a little bit further away from my seat. Like, look, it's almost a hand length away. Like, check this out. It's a bit too far away from me, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. I mean, I can at least reach the things that are down there. So it feels a bit like a van, but it's still good, guys. Over here is the door handle, guys, and check this out. This has to be one of the first times I've ever seen a door handle with this much detail to it. Like, wow. This is so good, guys. Over here is the instrument cluster, everyone, and it is digital. How amazing is that? Steering wheel of the Ford Explorer, guys, and I have to say the steering wheel is very... I feel like it's on the sporty side. Like, this has to be the first time I've seen a steering wheel this wide. Like, you have your start-stop button, and I'm just like wondering, why is it isolated right there? So the way you can start the start-stop button is by pushing the button like this. Over here, you get additional lighting controls. You get your fuel cap button right there, and your rear door button right there. Over there is the latch to open your hood, which is very good. So it's, although you have to pull it twice in order to open it, there's no way you can accidentally open it with your feet. Very good. And you guys also get a panoramic roof. How amazing is that? And this is your storage space for your glasses. So whilst exploring the interior of this Ford Explorer, I have to say I really liked the interior, okay? I really did. But I'm just under the impression that for a price of 70,000 euros, there's just something a little bit... there's just something that appears to be missing for a price of 70,000 euros. And the first questionable aspect I would like to point out is the trim over here. For a price of 70,000 euros, I would expect maybe some carbon fiber effect, or maybe some aluminum trim or wood trim, something. Now, another questionable aspect I've noticed is that for a price of 70,000 euros, you do not get additional storage right here. There's nothing going on over here. What looks like a storage space over here is actually a fuse box. Okay, I'm trying my hardest to understand why would you put a fuse box right there conspicuously. Over here is the rear of the Ford Explorer, guys, and this is very intelligent what they've done with this. Basically, over here is for your feet to step onto when you go to the rear seats. By the way, this is a 3-row SUV, so therefore you have the 3rd row over there. Those 3 seats are individually adjustable, and it's like a minivan. So I'm in the rear seat of the Ford Explorer, guys, and leg room is unlimited. I feel like I'm in a limousine, guys. I cannot question anything. The seating is a bit on the firm side. My knee room is unlimited, guys. I mean, it's like literally 1 kilometer away from the driver's seat. And guys, my headroom is also just as great. I mean, look at this. It's quite nice. In fact, the headroom may be a bit obstructed because there is a panoramic roof, but it's still good nonetheless. I like it. It's good. I'm happy with it. Over here is the door handle. Over here is the cup holder. Nice window button right there. Speaker over here. Oh, I like the quality of the metal. It's quite nice. I like the leather feel over here. Very nice. And this handle is very handy for when you get in. So because you get a handle over there, you do not get a handle over here, although you get some air vents, and you do get a hook and a beacon of hope on each side. This side and that side. How amazing is that? Oh yes, guys, nice rear seat pockets, and you do get climate control. Oh look, the Volvo effect. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. That looks like it came from Volvo long ago. The rear windows are tinted. However, if you do desire a bit more privacy, you do get a sun visor. Check this out. Oh, check this out, guys. You get this nice armrest right here in the middle with 2 cup holders. Woo! That's amazing. So over here is the rear of the Ford Explorer. But before we go into the rear, I just want to point out that the button to open the rear door is right here. It's pointed by this little mark over here. Actually, to be honest, when I first saw the rear door, I was like wondering for 1 minute, where is the button to open the rear door? And I just realized it's right here. So over here is the rear of the Ford Explorer, guys, and it's very super spacious, guys. This has to be like the first time I've ever seen a crossover SUV with this much space at the rear. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's so good. Gone are the days when you had to raise the 3rd row seats all by yourself. Oh my goodness. All the hard work. You have to pull things. You have to constantly do a lot of effort, although you get a lot of biceps doing those things. The buttons are right here, guys. The buttons to raise the 3rd row seats. How amazing is that? Just think about it. With a touch of a button, you can get many things done. Who said you need to waste energy to lift a mountain? Over here is the button to close the rear door. So here's my conclusion about the Ford Explorer. I have to say I am very impressed with the Ford Explorer. It's a very promising debut in the EU market. And this particular competitor is no ordinary competitor. This competitor is from the North American market. So finally, we get a taste of North America. So for a price of 70,000 euros, is this Ford Explorer good value for money or not? You know what, guys? I think this Ford Explorer is okay value for money. It's okay. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. I think it's just good. It's just okay. Because here's the thing. I was wondering about the 3-liter engine, the V6 3-liter, and then pairing it with hybrid. I'm just under the impression there's... Okay, maybe for the North American market, it makes a lot of sense. But here in the EU market... it can be perceived as questionable. However, what I can say is that there's something about the theming of this Ford Explorer that's a bit mixed. Like for example, the ST line implies sportiness. Yet I see a vast amount of hard plastic on the side and especially around the wheels, which implies a cross-country theme. Because usually most brands, when they talk about, when they include a sport kit to their car, the last thing they put is hard plastic. They often tend to cover all the hard plastics with body paint, or they tend to put a body kit in some extent. They put like, you know, fancy air vents and sporty looks to them when it's a sport kit. Especially for a price of 70,000 euros. But again, it's just questionable, guys. It's not a big deal. It's something, it's an acquired taste. You get used to it. And it's also selective taste. Me, personally, I do not mind. I loved those wheels, by the way. Those wheels look amazing. And I could see a lot of Ford F-150 vibe in this Ford Explorer. There's a lot of, like, it appears to have some vibes from Ford pickup trucks. So, and this is very good. I like it. My opinion of this Ford Explorer. Oh, I love this Ford Explorer. I love it. I love this Ford Explorer, guys. This Ford Explorer is amazing. It's a film star. If you've seen Hollywood movies, there is no way you would have missed out on this car. This car is famous. Everyone knows it. Everyone in the media knows it. And by the way, sitting inside the rear of this car felt like I was in a filming set. It's quite nice. I really liked it. It felt quite good. And also the interior was good, but it just felt as though for a price of 70,000 euros, there was something that felt a bit like it was missing. But it's okay, guys. I loved it nonetheless. It's still good. And I think Ford, if Ford can step up its game in the EU market, they're going to destroy a lot of people. Ford is going to beat everyone if they can step up some things. Like with the engine, with the interior a bit, you know, make it more flashy, make it more interesting. Otherwise, great. Way to go, Ford. Welcome to Europe. And Ford Explorer, welcome to Europe. I hope Europe treats you nice. I'm sure it does. I mean, come on. Look at us. We have one of the best roads. One of the best roads, okay? We don't have the best, but we try our best.